Alright guys, welcome back. Welcome back. This is episode number 1 of Europa Universalis's playthrough as Castile, the great Iberian kingdom. So, the last time I kind of talked about the series, who made it, and what I like about it, and all the different things that we can do. So let's dig right in and look at Castile. So there's a bunch of different options that we're going to look at. As a country in this game, we've got 4 different types of currencies. So we've got the actual treasury that consists of ducats, which is essentially gold money, and I don't know if ducats is a term that was used for a larger number, but they kind of simplified it, and so we've got 208 ducats, or gold dollars, whatever you want to call it. And then other forms of currency, we've got our monarch powers, and so we've got administrative power, diplomatic power, military power, and those are actually used for various different options. There's things like you can tech up with them, you can get certain buildings using those, as well as a combination of money. There are a bunch of different events that pop up that will require you to use different amounts of powers, which is really neat. So the way you gain these is by the skill of your king, as well as the advisors that you have in your court. And so we have a king, or possibly a queen, and so the king will have a different set of skills depending on how good they are. Now you'll see that our king, King Juan II de Transtamara, is a 112 king, which is kind of poor. The maximum that you can get as far as a skill goes is 6. So if we look at oops, sorry, did not start my timer, which is okay because there's a lot to go over. So if we look at this, he's really poor. An average king, queen, or leader will be about a 333. So we kind of get screwed in the beginning, but he is he is, let's see, age 39, so he's going to live for a decent amount of time. But we have an heir, and our heir is god awful. Oh, wow. Our heir is a 000, but that's okay because every kingdom will start off with at least a 333 as far as power gain. Now the way we augment that is by getting advisors. Now advisors can do multiple different things. So let's look at the administrative advisors. We've got a philosopher, an inquisitor, and a treasurer. Now each one of these, depending on their skill, will give you +1, 2, or 3 of each point. Now with each increase in the amount of points that they give comes the cost. So if we look at a 1 point advisor, which is generally what we're going to be sticking with, they cost 1 gold monthly, but they cost 16 gold to hire, and they will offer this bonus. So a treasurer will give us national tax modifier of 5%, which is pretty neat. The inquisitor gives us different missionary strength, and we get yearly prestige. Now it does not matter. This bonus here is the same regardless of whether or not they are 1, 2, or 3. The only difference is the amount of points that we get. So again, we're going to start off with level 1 advisors pretty much for the most part of the game. Now let's take a look. We've got all 1s here. We can get global trade power, diplomatic reputation, and spy offense. Now I'm going to go with the diplomatic reputation. This is used with multiple different things, and we'll get into that as we go. And then we look at military, and the only level 1 advisor we have is our reinforced speed. And that brings me into this point. So we have our military, which is great. So this game is kind of like Risk, where you control units, move them around. And as you can see, I can move them anywhere in my country. You grab and right click on wherever you want. Now they do take damage if we have too many troops. That over the supply of the province. So we can see the supply limit is 30 here. We only have 20 troops here. So this specific province can hold up to 30 troops before they get hit with any attrition. Essentially that degrades the troop count, or in other words, people die because there's not enough food, all the way until you get to that barrier. And so that reinforced speed will tell us how quickly our manpower, which is another amount of, it's another essentially unit of it's how many troops we have on standby. So we have our standing troops and we have our reserves. There we go. I had a little mind fart as to how to explain that. So the reinforced speed will tell us how quickly our reserves will be able to reach our active standing armies. So from there we have our stability, which this stability is how stable is our country, obviously. And it will generally stay, I'm going to usually keep it around neutral. It costs admin points to raise, but stability, if you are positive stability up to level 3, then you get a bunch of bonuses, increased tax, increased morale, which is all really nice. And let's take a look at the exact bonuses. So if we, you'll get global trade power, better spy defense, you even get less revolt risk, you'll get a national tax modifier, and your missionary strength goes up. Now there is an increase in cost for each stability level. So level 1 will cost a certain amount, level 2 will cost more, and 3 will cost the most. So now, like there are positives, there's also negatives. So if we go into negative stability, which we don't want to do, then we'll get hit with negative of those modifiers. So yes, we've got our prestige, which prestige kind of tells us where we are in the world, and we get a whole bunch of bonuses. They're not as high of bonuses as stability and things like that, but you still get a bonus from there. And there's also legitimacy, and it's a measure of how legitimate monarchs are perceived by their subjects. So we get a whole bunch of bonuses from this, and this can go up and down depending on different modifiers we get and different random events that we get during the game, and so on and so forth. We've got the potential for, we've got 2 merchants that will be able to go into our trade mode. So if you look at trade, Sevilla is kind of split in, Castile is split into 2. We've got half of our country is in the Sevilla trade node, as you can see right here, and half of it's in the Bordeaux trade node, which is predominantly the French nation. So trade is something that we'll actually get into very soon, but all we have to know right now is that we've got 2 merchants and they're working in both of these. And so what we can do later on is, I'm definitely going to try to play around with the trade, because there's different ways that you can steer trade towards your nodes, multiply different different bonuses, and that's kind of how we're supposed to make a good bulk of our money, because expansion in this game is very slow. So there's a lot of things. We can go to war, but there's also there's consequences to going to war. Like, for instance, there are political consequences. People don't like you if you start killing other nations to grow your own. Go figure. People don't like to die. But anyway, so from there, let's we've been doing a lot. We've got diplomats, and then eventually we'll get colonists, because we'll be able to colonize Africa and eventually the world over here. If we look down the map, we've got South America that's empty. Actually, they aren't really empty, but they're going to be empty for us. We'll take it anyways. So without further ado, let's look. I've got a timer set because I'm going to keep these episodes to about 20 minutes. All right, so I've been talking for about 7 minutes, and that's a long time. So let's get started. Our merchants are set. I kind of like what they're doing for now. Back to political map mode. Now we need to secure our position on the Iberian Peninsula. One thing we're going to do is we're going to try to make friends. We don't want to go to war just yet. There's a lot of things that we're going to need to do before we get there. Especially in the beginning of the game, we all start with roughly the same tech if you are a Western country. The Southerns, the filthy Muslims. Again, that's only my opinion within the game, because I'm playing as a Christian. So yes, those Muslims that we're going to drive out the Iberian Peninsula, they have a different set of tech rules, and we'll be able to crush them eventually. But again, there's a lot of things we need to do first. So yes, Portugal, they are going to be our friends. Aragon, I hope they're going to be our friends, but sometimes it does not work that way. So it looks like Aragon is kind of pissed at us. And a lot of that comes from border frictions. We have quite a big border with them. They want to expand just as much as we do. So we're going to start. Let's go to diplomacy, open these up. There are a lot of different things that we can do. So we're going to start off by offering them an alliance. They will accept. This bar shows us how willing they are. And if we look, there's 106 reasons why they should. And 0 reasons why they do not want to, which is fantastic. So yes, send that. And then we're also going to go and we are going to improve our relations with Aragon because we want them to be buddy-buddy, especially against these filthy Muslims down here. Again, only my opinion in game. So send that and let's start. Let's go some time. So we've got time moves on. I like to play this game at least from what I've seen, kind of turn-based, so I play for a certain amount of time. I'm going to be using the space bar and pausing a lot, just because I don't want to miss anything. Anyways, so I'm going to eventually bump the speed up. I like 3 for now, but we're paused. So King of Portugal has accepted our military alliance. Perfect. Now, anytime you speak to somebody, as far as relations go, you have to wait a month before you can speak to them again. And so we're actually getting an alliance offer from Navarra, which is this little country right there. So we'll accept that because we're going to play nice. And so we view our country. We are allowed to have 4 different relations at once before we start taking diplomatic point penalties. So if we have over 4, we start losing the amount of diplo points that we get per month. And also we can set rivals, and this is going to be important. We have a truce with Granada until 1448, so we cannot attack them until then. I mean, we could, but it's a severe penalty. So if we look at Granada and we try to declare war, we need a diplomat. Okay, if we try to declare war on them, because we have cores on them, and that's another whole thing to get into. We would actually be breaking a truce, and that would be a -5 to our stability. Now, the stability would only go to -3, but it's still a huge penalty. So it looks like Portugal has already sent the royal marriage request to us, which is sweet. We shall accept, and we shall make babies, lots of beautiful babies. So yeah, and the benefit of getting royal marriages, 1, it makes the other person like us. 2, it increases our chance of having an heir, which is very significant, because if we do not have an heir, a legal heir, there is possibilities for people to claim our throne, which is not good. So yeah, we're going to want to use royal marriages. Now again, we have to be careful, because if we were to make a royal marriage and then break it for some reason, because you can't do that, break royal ties, you get a stability drop from that. So we want to make sure that the people that we're marrying royally will be our friends, because it's always better that way. So let's take a look. We are actually getting hit with attrition here. This is a very bad zone. It looks like the supply limit in this zone, where is it, Cordoba, is only an 18. So I'm actually going to move. Actually, I'm going to split this army in half, and we're going to move half to Jaén and leave half in Cordoba. I've also got this there. Oh yes, and so trade. Again, back to trade. Now, depending on how many provinces and different upgrades, I'm going to accept that, that we have inside of our country, will affect our trade power within trade zones. So if we look at the Sevilla trade node, it looks like Portugal is actually owns 43% of the Sevilla trade, which means they're getting 43% of the money that is within Sevilla. That's not okay. Now, a way that we can fix this or remedy this is by adding trade ships to the node, so they can protect the trade and steer it towards our nation. And how we do that, let's look at, we've got our ships here, and so we've got actually 2 navies. We have the Armada Real, which I'm going to rename very quickly, and the Flota de Murcia, and we're going to rename this Sevilla trade fleet, because I don't speak Castilian. There we go. And so we notice here we've got our navies here. It's now changed to the Sevilla trade fleet, and then this is going to be our attack fleet. Okay, so we can quickly go to them. We can quickly go to our armies. We know where our merchants are, and we have a free diplomat. So what are we going to do? Let's increase. Go back to that. We are improving relations there. Let's improve our relations to the max with Portugal, and by you can actually improve your relations with a friendly non-vassal country by plus 100 with that button. So it's a very important tool to have. Now also another thing we have is we've got the papacy here. So we are Catholic, and we actually answer to the Pope. And so the way that this works is that depending, and this is called the Curia controller. So right now Hungary is a Curia controller. They have one cardinal that is loyal to them with inside the cabinet. These guys are in there until for life. So the way that we get in bed with the Curia, or with the Pope, is by bribing other or future cardinals. Now other people are going to have that same idea, and they're going to try to bribe their own cardinals. The benefit of having or becoming the Curia controller is that we get an additional diplomat. We get increased missionary strength and whatnot. We can also call for excommunications of different countries that we do not like, and that's important, that we do not like them. So, and then there's a whole bunch of consequences of getting excommunicated that we can get to once we do that. So yes, so every so often we're going to get a little bulletin here saying we can invest in a cardinal, and we will do that because we want to be in control of this, because again, that additional diplomat is really huge. It just allows for a lot of different things. So let's let time travel, and we're going to go. And so again, there's a lot of different things that we're going to be holding off on. So as time goes by, the first thing we're going to do, let's look at our missions. Finish the Reconquista. This is probably what we're going to do first. Actually, let's take a look at Aragon real quick, and let's look at their diplomacy. They do not like us yet, and they will not get a royal marriage. And let's see, they're at positive 67 and negative 100, and the negative 100 comes because they are hostile towards us. Now that may change, because right now, currently, we are improving relations. So once we get to 100 plus 100 improved relations, we'll see where they are then. So I'm not going to do that just yet. And I am going to take the mission to finish the Reconquista, and what that entails is wiping Granada off the face of the earth, because they're dirty. Okay, so let's look at different things. And you can see the pause button. I have to set the save intervals to every month, and the reason being is because the game is still brand new and it kind of glitches, and occasionally it crashes. So we may get a crash here and there, but never fear, we're saving every month. Very important. And actually, while we do that, let's get a quick save game. And again, these are the different tries that I tried. Castile, LP, number 1. So now we've got our hard save. Alright, so let's look at our land again. So we've got unpause. We've got the mainland in the Iberian Peninsula. And we also start off with a colony down here, because Castile and Portugal, they start off as the two most likely countries to go and colonize other places, and that's historically accurate. Spain, or Castile, and Portugal were the biggest colonizers, at least to begin with. So military leaders died. That stinks. We're just gonna have to get another one. Oh, our general, not that guy. All right, so that's fine. We don't need him yet. Oh, what am I doing? Let's take a look. So we are making 5.22 gold a month, and that is with full maintenance on our armies and our fleet. Now, and I'm still not moving our fleet. Wow. Silly. I talked about it, but I didn't end up doing it. So let's protect trade in Sevilla. We've got 7 light ships, and now that they're out actually doing something, let's take a look at the trade node again. And now we are actually holding, let's see, 31%, and 31% of the trade, which is really nice. We are reeling in 2.68 gold per month, which is fantastic. That's definitely a huge increase compared to where we were a second ago before, because now Portugal is down to 37%. Fantastic. Now again, there are different modifiers and buildings that we'll eventually be able to build that tax on to that. So here's one of those pop-ups. The Pope has just announced that one of our ruler's most esteemed and revered ancestors was actually a saint. This is cause for great celebration. Saint proclaimed. Te Deum. And this is actually a positive event, and we gain +1 stability. Again, we can look very nice, because that's free, because stability costs, I think it starts at 100 admin points. So yes, so by just adding those trade fleets there, we are gaining twice as much gold from trade per month. So we actually start off, we need to build an improvement, and the improvement is an earth rampart, because again, we start off with this newly cored province. Oh, and that's the alarm. So I'm gonna cut the video here, and we're gonna get into the buildings and probably future tech in our next episode. I'm sorry that we didn't get too far into the game. A lot of it was explaining different aspects of it. So we're gonna travel through time a little bit, possibly kill Granada in the next time. So we will see you then. See ya. Bye-byes.